Welcome back. President Trump making some big news earlier today, announcing during his visit to the NATO summit in London that a China trade deal may have to wait until after the 2020 presidential election. Watch this.
I'm doing very well in a deal with China if I want to make it. If I want to make it. I don't think it's if they want to make it. It's if I want to make it. And we'll see what happens. But I'm doing very well if I want to make a deal. I don't know that I want to make it, but you're going to find out pretty soon. In some ways, it's better to wait till after the election with China. But I'm not going to say that. I just think that. I just tell you. In some ways, I like the idea of waiting till after the election for the China deal. But they want to make a deal now, and we'll see whether or not the deal's going to be right. It's got to be right.
And with that, futures completely reversed course, dropping in the pre-market all morning, along with the yuan currency. Investors have been hoping for a quick phase one deal that could possibly minimize market volatility. Not so. This morning, we're at the lows with the Dow futures down 234 points, S&P futures down 21, and the NASDAQ futures down 75 right now, about 1% lower across the board. Joining us right now is JMP Securities President Mark Lehmann. And Mark, it is always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Maria.
I don't know. I feel a little like he was ad-libbing there.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like...
But?
Yeah.
I mean, what'd you call it earlier, Dagan?
Spitballing.
Spitballing.
He's spitballing. He's just kind of tossing ideas out there. But I have a theory about it. I'm going to wait to share. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, I think...
How much of a worry is it?
Well, listen, the market's the last 2 days has worried 500 points, if you believe the futures right now.
Good point.
That's 2%. So that's not nothing.
And
we've had a nice fourth quarter, and we were going into the end of the year probably more optimistic than we were at any time at the rest of the year. And that's put a little bit of water on that. And that's probably not great going into the fourth quarter and saying, I'll decide, and it's not up to them, it's up to me, adds to that. And I would expect if that rhetoric continues, we're going to see more down days than up days.
Can we talk about currencies for a second? So the president just put tariffs on Argentina and Brazil, saying that it was because they were allowing their currencies to fall. Maria just said in her lead-in that the Chinese yuan is falling on this news. Talk about the dollar and where it stands and how much of its increase is market forces in action and how much of it is, you know, trade actions by other countries just trying to hurt us.
Well, I'm not sure South American currencies are the reference point of anything for the American dollar, and I wouldn't expect. They got what bigger problems than international trade at some of the countries you just mentioned. Listen, when things get difficult in the marketplaces, forever in my 30-year investing career, the American dollar has been the place of strength and the safe haven currency. And I guess that's going to continue for the rest of my investing career because that's what's happening. And I'm not sure some of those things are based on tariffs. They're more based on what's the fundamentals going on. And whether we like it or not, our economy, which continues to chug along at the levels it does, is probably the best economy going.
But isn't it more than chugging along? I mean, we had an incredible weekend of shopping. That's not just chugging along, right?
So my point is we have the best economy in the world, and some of those weaknesses of those currencies this is the right safe haven currency globally.
But then what we see is when, I'm sorry, Dagan, when the dollar gets strong, it becomes a focal point in the trade war. So, I mean, do you have to start watching this as an investor? Dollar gets strong, maybe that means new tariffs, maybe that means that stocks come off.
I think the market's telling you that. I think we've seen in the last few days as the rhetoric's gotten louder that our currency's gotten stronger, and I think it kind of feeds on itself. And I think we do maybe have to take a little bit of a step back and figure out what the ramifications are, because spitballing may not be the way to go to policy.
Look no further as proof of American greatness than biotechnology and the biotech stocks. Talk about their outperformance, but you still say they're undervalued and even underowned, and there's a catalyst coming up that we're talking about.
This is your specialty.
This is our specialty, and you know, fortunately at JMP we have a lot of sector-based coverage, whether it's in oncology or whether it's in rare disease or whether it's in central nervous system or CNS. This quarter, the overall performance of the life sciences stocks, albeit in a great quarter so far for the market, is 3x the overall market. And we've had over a half a dozen stocks that are up over 100% this quarter. And that's not just because people decided they want to get back in the sector. That's on fundamental news. And you could look at trade wars, and you could look at all the investigations, and you look at all the things going on fundamentally, the potential for slowdown in the Rust Belt, et cetera. What's not slowing down is the innovation in life sciences. That has definitely not slowed down. And what we're seeing is more approvals at the FDA, more rare diseases that are getting cured. It's not just oncology. It's Alzheimer's. It's schizophrenia. It's some things that have gotten huge markets that have no attention so far. But drugs are working and stocks are working, and I think that's going to continue.
And I point this out because this is where finance and investment meets real life and where we are as Americans. And when it's some drug development by this small company is the difference between life and death.
Yeah, and I'll bring it back to USMCA, because one of the things that the Democrats want is they want a lower number of years that companies can hold on to patents. This is one of the things that they want changed in the USMCA, the biologics, and I think they're going to give them that. It's going to be less than 10 years. Right now, a company can have a patent on its product for 10 years. Democrats say, no, we want it lower than 10 years because we want the price to go down.
Well, I'll give you a personal example, which I wasn't prepared to talk about, but I've had Crohn's disease for 30 years. It's been up and down like most people who have this disease. A year ago, I found a new doctor and I found a new medication, and it has changed my life. Okay, it's exactly what you're talking about. It has literally changed my life, and it's a very expensive drug. My insurance company does a great job for paying for it, but I personally, it's changed everything. And these diseases that are really these diseases that ruin people's lives and take over their families' lives and take over their finances, people need to understand that that is what's going on. 13% of our health care bill is by drugs. It's not 40, it's not 50, it's not 70. 13% of our spend in this country.
So you have this
we need to pay for that.
You have this unique perspective on this. On the one hand, we need companies innovating so that they can create drugs that change lives like that change yours. On the other hand, if they're so expensive that we can't get them actually into people's systems, so where do you stand on that?
Which is why you need the private sector to be able to believe they can make money on this stuff by having a patent for 10 years. I'm just saying this is a big issue, and it links.
And charitable giving is one of the ways that people actually get these drugs. I witnessed that myself.
The compassionate use of these drugs does happen. And like you said, people have access to these. We need an answer to this, because if you don't have insurance, or you don't have insurance that pays for most of it, you're not going to get.
And is it fair that other countries free ride on our own system and sell our drugs, that American companies are inventing at half the price that Americans have to pay for?
It's really a tough issue. It's not fair, and I think we do need to expand access. But what I will tell you is the number of companies who are going to have innovative products that cure diseases that we couldn't even think about 10 or 15 years ago, it's accelerating, and that's why you need to put more money in the sector.
Thank you for sharing your personal story, Mark. We're glad that your life has changed. Do you want to just tell us the drug, one drug? It's for anybody else who has Crohn's disease out there?
It's called Stelara. My doctor, Uma Mahadevan, is in San Francisco, is really one of the gurus in the space, and she's incredible.
Mark, thank you.
Thank you.
Mark Lehmann joining us. We'll be right back.